I just thought at that point of time that the man who stands now and returns fire is the leader. So I stood up and I started firing back.
Hi, I'm Kylie. Welcome to another reaction video. So today I'm going to do things a little differently. Usually I just go ahead and react to a video, but today I'm going to bring to you a 4-part video that I reacted to over on my military channel about a year ago. This is majorJacob of 9 Para SF's Beer Biceps podcast called The Special Forces Mindset and Attitude. Now, I did go ahead and keep my commentary after every single part, so you will see some random cuts throughout the video. And as Ranveer would say, enjoy.
Many Indians consider Major Vivek Jacob to be one of the most legendary modern-day figures of the Indian Army. He's a veteran of the Indian Para SF. The Indian Para SF itself is considered to be the most advanced part of the Indian Army. And on a worldwide scale, the Indian Para SF is looked at as one of the most respected regiments of any army anywhere in the world. And the experiences he's had, the stories of combat, the intensity of combat, the extreme combat situations that he has seen are something that will stay with you forever. This is part 1 of our episode with Major Vivek Jacob. So many stories, so many experiences, so many mentality pieces to share with you. We couldn't even encapsulate all of it into 2 parts of this chat with Major Vivek Jacob. This is just part 1 about his tenure with the Indian Army. Part 2 is about what he's doing now with his organization CLAW. But here's part 1. His past, everything he learned, some of his most intense moments brought to you on the Ranveer Show.
Definitely knows how to sell someone.
Namaste everyone. Welcome to an extremely special episode of the Ranveer Show. Sir, absolute honor having you here. Let me tell you before we begin,
like he's
this
meeting
is a
his
very
hero.
requested episode right from the time we started. We have Indian Army veteran Major
He
Vivek
seems
Jacob
so excited.
of the Indian Special Forces. So, honor having you here.
Ditto, yeah, same.
Did I introduce you right? Because when it comes to the Indian Army, the Aam Janta, the public doesn't understand the way it's regimented, the way the army is like divided. People don't understand what the paramilitary is versus what the Indian army is. So, of course, we'll touch upon those points, but this podcast is primarily about your story, everything that you're doing with CLAW, with Operation Blue Freedom. We'll touch upon all those topics. But I'd like to actually begin with your own story. Like after the NDA, everyone knows the journey till the NDA. What happens after that? How does the Indian army get divided?
So it all begins before you get into NDA, basically.
So the National Defense Academy.
People have, they want to join Air Force or
Do I think
Army
it's similar
or
to
Navy.
like West Point or
Mostly
the
it's
Naval
like that.
Academy kind of?
They already have like preconceived, and some people are slightly on survival mode and all that. They need to just get into the armed forces or something like that and then figure it out from there. A lot of people don't know what it's all about. So for them, there's not much of difference between an Army, Navy or an Air Force. Some people are like that as well. But once you opt like that. So you're, when you go through the merit and all those various stages which are there to enter into the NDA, you're classified into Army, Navy, Air Force. You come like a cadet like that from there only. So then till the 4th term of NDA, you are trained similarly. You all go through, whether you're Army, Navy, Air Force cadets, you go through the same training till the 4th term. 5th term, 6th term is when, at least that's how it was in my time. I don't know what it's like right now. But when you come to the 5th term, you divide into specialized subjects towards the Navy, towards the Air Force, towards the Army. Like the Air Force guys start flying, they start getting taught how to fly gliders. And then
When did he retire?
The Navy guys go into, navigation and stuff like that, of map reading at sea and stuff. And the Army guys go into weapon training and things like that, which are more, akin to the Army kind of a job.
Yes,
so when we finish off with all this training, from NDA itself, we divide out. The Navy guys go to the Naval Academy, the Air Force guys go to the Air Force Academy, the Army guys go to Indian Military Academy. Then we spend about a year there in our various academies, and then we get commissioned and go into our various services. I went into the Army, I chose the Army, went into the Army, and after NDA, I went to IMA. In IMA, when you're completing a year and you're about to get commissioned, there is a place where you have to opt for which particular regiment in the Army you would like to go to.
And what is that based on? Like, what are the different options?
Okay.
What goes on in your head?
I know at the American Service Academies, like West Point, Naval Academy, Coast Guard Academy, and the Air Force Academy, in their final year, they can choose what branch they want to go into, such as engineer, infantry, aviation, etc. And they do it by an order of merit list. So whoever's had the best grades in leadership and all that good stuff, they'll get first choice if there's available slots, of course. It sounds like that's kind of what he's talking about. Let's see.
So for there is a merit list which is prepared at the end of your training in Indian Military Academy. It is prepared during your adjudged and in your service subjects, in your physical performance, in your sports and games, in your leadership qualities, etc., etc., etc. And then you are placed into a merit depending on your total number of points that you have. So there is something called a super block and there's something called a power block. So, and everybody else in between. So super block is the first 10 guys. I don't even remember, it's first 10 or first 20 or something like that. They are the
How
super
many
block.
people are
they
in
are
each
the top
class?
merit in the course.
I
and
wonder.
they get to choose where they want to go.
The
Provided there is a
classes
vacancy, but mostly vacancies
at
are
West
there. So they get
Point,
to choose. Some
etc.
people
are
opt
pretty
for
large. So.
engineers, some people opt for, like technical arms or for the infantry or for the special forces. It's like that. So the first 20 guys get to choose what they want. The next of the guys, they also get to choose what they want. But, depending on the kind of vacancy,
This sounds
it depends
similar.
where you go. And then there's the power block. So the power block is apparently the lowest in merit, and they also choose what they want, but then depending on the kind of vacancies, they get what is best available. The overall logic behind all of this grading and spreading out is that equal amount of balanced personalities, talent has to go into all regiments. So you'll find a super block guy going to the same place, and you'll find a power block guy also going to the same regiment. But the special forces guys, they choose. You have to volunteer for special forces. Yeah, you have to sign a volunteer form.
Same thing with the US
and
military.
You get
You
three
have to
options: option
volunteer.
1, option 2, option 3. Every guy gets 3 options. So like that.
So like again, the Indian Special Forces, for someone who knows about the army, it's considered okay. This is like the most, for lack of a better word, badass part of the army. Aam Janta doesn't really understand what Special Forces entails. Could you expand a little bit on that? Because I'll tell you what perspective I'm coming from. We see so much about US Navy SEALs, US Marines, and because of the media in Hollywood and all, it's projected like, oh, these guys are the most badass MFers in the world. And here we have the Indian Special Forces who are probably even more badass because of the kind of terrain we have in India, because of all the different kinds of operations that the Indian Army deals with. And there's not much about that out there. And I know it's going to change in the next 10, 20 years, sir. But if the change had to begin with this question, how would you introduce the Indian Special Forces to the Indian audiences?
So this whole perception of what special forces is, very understandably, because people who are not in special forces, who have not experienced what the job is, have not gone through the training, who have not gone through the combat experiences, etc., would like to delve into who is more, who is less, who is better, who is more this or that. But actually, people who are actually in the special forces know that there's a certain kind of mindset. You'll find a lot of people in the special forces who are not there. Right?
You mean not up to the mark?
Yeah. Not up to the mark. Yeah, definitely they don't have what it takes to deliver what is required in combat.
From a mentality perspective.
Yes, it's all what you do finally when the shit is flying. That's what makes you special forces. You can wear any fancy uniform and you can carry any fancy weapon and all sorts of daggers and grenades and fly all sorts of drones and all sorts of UAVs and all sorts of jazz. You can have at your disposal. But if you don't have that instinct to explore and to handle what you find when you're exploring, then it's you're not there. So all special.
Essentially what he's saying is that you can be the best trained special forces soldier out there, have all the latest technology and equipment, but if you don't know what to do when the shit hits the fan, then you don't have it.
Special forces across the world, the people who are there, who are going through those experiences, who have chosen those experiences. We choose what we experience constantly. So we are the same. Yeah, it's the same exploratory spirit which is transferred into your brain and generates thoughts, and you act like that on the ground, and in some way you have let go so you can explore. That's the special forces mindset. And that is shared by all special forces across the globe. It's like that. And in some previous podcast also I had mentioned, like, if you send me naked on a mountain, like, like that when I say me, I'm talking about the special forces spirit, right? You send me naked in a mountain and you leave me there, I'll get back. And I'll go and do what needs to be done, because I've chosen that experience. So that's where the spirit comes from.
Again, he's about no excuses.
Where you are not satisfied with what is there. You want to know more. You want to explore more. And in the quest of that exploration, special forces is extreme, because you're constantly placing your life on the line. So when you're placing your life on the line, you're going to circumstances and situations where you're placing your own life on the line, and your life connected with all the attachments you've got with the rest of what is behind you, your children, your mother, father, brother, sister, love of your life, etc., right? When you're able to put all of that there and then stand on the cutting edges of life and death, you will find. And that's a constant process, constantly going through that. So that's basically exploration. Yeah.
Again, like, I know that, an army man wouldn't like me saying that, but again, this is just for the Aam Janta. This is the closest that real life gets to a Rambo or a highest wing of the military, where special forces are sent in, functionally speaking, when there is a difficult job to be done or a very important job to be done. Would the Indian Army send in special forces?
So it's not that there's any job which is difficult or which is easy or whatever, and then special forces are sent to do the impossible and things like that. It's just a matter of efficiency. That is all.
Got it.
Efficiency. So there are certain kind of tasks, certain kind of roles in national security, within and without the national boundaries of your particular nation, whichever you may be from, where the powers that be, let's say the government or the armed forces who are operating in various theaters, they decide that, okay, this needs to be done and it needs to be done in this manner. And they've got a variety of, surgical instruments or, hammers, if you want to call them, or whatever. So which they choose that, okay, this job requires to be done in this way. This requires the artillery to come in. This requires the armored corps to come in. This requires the infantry to come in. This requires the missile regiments to come in. This requires the air force to do it. This requires the special forces to do it. It's like that. So everyone is specializing in their job. We are just specializing in what we have been collected to do.
Yeah.
And organized, collected, inspired, and shot out to do.
Essentially, you wouldn't call in 9 Para SF to recover a ship from pirates. You would call them Marcos, or the United States would call them Navy SEALs. Wouldn't send the Space Force to do some bombing mission.
Yeah.
So I've again hung around you guys for the last 2-3 days. I've seen the way you talk even at Claw. And of course, we're going to come to Claw.
No, you have not seen it.
I mean, I've seen a bit of it. I've had some glimpses, and I've had deep conversations with Major Arun as well. One thing I've noticed is that y'all focus a lot on teamwork, which is the obvious thing. I'm sure that's the obvious skill that gets polished through the course of going through the army. The other thing I'd really highlight is efficiency. You guys constantly ask questions about processes and ask yourself how things can be improved. So that's one thing I've noticed. Secondly, sir, I gotta bring this conversation to you on a very individual level. The podcast, and we've had deep conversations about meditation. It allows the meditator or the podcaster to psychoanalyze fairly well. And I know that you guys psychoanalyze people well as well. That's a part of your job profile. But when I psychoanalyze you, so I feel like there's been 3 versions of you. One,
when I think of meditation, I think of Buddhism. I don't really think of any other religions. My question is this: how big is meditation in Indian culture or in Hinduism today? Is that a big thing, or is that slowly going out the wayside as Western culture starts encroaching into the East?
Before, the army started, when you were studying for it, the second is the guy who finished his term with the special forces and who took that call about, okay, now I want to change things up. Now let's take another roller coaster. Let's jump from this one to another one. And the third one would be the guy you are right now, who is still evolving, and there's probably going to be a fourth, fifth, sixth one. Might be an entrepreneur, might be someone who runs a personal brand, might be an online persona, might be just a purpose-driven person, might be a spiritual person.
He would be a good
whatever you are right
online persona.
But I've seen these three distinct versions of you, and often when I speak to podcast guests, I can see a certain level of their life, especially when they open up this much on the show. A part of you, sir, I just feel like you've seen so many layers of things that it will take 10 podcasts to unlock everything you've seen. So I'd actually love for you to highlight that journey. Especially, I know there's going to be more mindsets, but would you agree with me when I say that till this point you've had 3 or max 4 different kinds of mindsets in your own life? You had that self-evolution thrice or 4 times.
So it's what I have understood again. Whatever I say is my perception. I am as imperfect as everyone else and as perfect as everyone else.
See,
so
he's
my
humble,
perception of
and I like
my
that.
experiences and my understanding, and maybe my past lives and something like that exists or whatever. So the thing is that what I understood is that there are 3 levels of consciousness at a baseline. That is a follower, a leader, and an explorer. So you can very easily classify people into these 3 categories. People who follow, who like to follow something that makes sense to them. People who like to lead people because that makes sense to them. And then there are people who don't care about who's following or who's leading. They are on their own trip, right? They're exploring what it means to be themselves, to be alive, and to have a choice, right? So all human beings at various stages in their life are existing in all these 3 spheres of following, leading, and exploring.
I agree with
even,
that.
For example, me, every day I'm following someone, I'm leading someone, and I'm on my own trip as well. I'm exploring. So it's like that. So you shift consciousnesses, or you shift in the level of your perception of what is going around you outside and what is going around inside of you at various stages. Depending on where you are, you will.
I definitely agree with that. Even being a high-ranking officer or NCO in the military, you're still going to be following someone. Yes, you are leading, but there is someone who's above you who's also calling some shots as well.
Be functioning as such. So yeah, there will be shifts and all that. All these shifts are there, but actually what is there? There is only pure consciousness. Actually, that is only there, right? So it's that pure consciousness which is trying to find out itself, right? Trying to understand itself, realize itself, so it can be free, right? And reach a level of vibration where it is in bliss forever, if you want to, call it like that. So yeah, so if I look at myself, if I look back at my life and I see my consciousness level or my awareness levels and what drove me towards certain actions, certain choices in life, and now where I am, where I was 10 years from now, 5 years from now, and where I'm going to be tomorrow as well. There are these shifting consciousnesses or awareness levels, etc. But there is one single thing which is constant throughout, and that is a spirit to be free, a spirit to be free. Yeah, if you just want to crunch it, a spirit to be free. Now that spirit to be free manifests itself in our life in these 3 levels. Sometimes you're following to learn something, you'll meet some guru, or you'll meet some, you'll have a commanding officer in the army or somebody you look up to and you'll follow him by choice or because of circumstances or whatever. And then you will be placed in a leadership role.
Yes, sometimes you have to follow bad leaders. It's not really your choice, but you're kind of being forced to do it. Yeah, that happens a lot in the military. There are a lot of toxic leaders.
Everybody is in a leadership role in some way or the other. And then you are at an exploratory stage also constantly. Now where your consciousness is operating at that point of time, whether it is at a follower stage or a leader stage or at an exploratory stage, at that particular moment is where you are. And then there is a general overall perception of a human being of his own life. And in my case, that's like a rocket, it's want to fly off. Yeah. Just reach what we already are. It's just that journey of raising your awareness levels. That's it.
The other video of his, the Special Forces Mindset and Attitude, was a really good video, but it only showed clips of this podcast. But I'm really glad that I'm getting to sit down and actually watch the whole thing, get a better understanding of who he is exactly. I'm already starting to believe that this is like India's version of Navy SEAL Chris Kyle. So we'll see.
So Devang from the Claw team, me and him were having a deep conversation yesterday about how you guys have your own trajectory when you joined the Special Forces. And I've had these same conversations with Major Arun as well. Just very different mentality with you guys. And from the outside looking in, I believe it's because of two things in particular. One is the training and the mentality you develop during the training. You explained this to me and I'd love for you to cover that aspect on the podcast. And the second thing is actual combat, practicals if you may. The theory and your practicals of what you've studied. I feel that really changes you as a human being.
Your experiences unlock your own potential of what you are.
Could you highlight these two phases of your life and what you gained again as a man? Like, because I feel every human being has that process where you're going from being a child to becoming an adult, and it happens repeatedly. But specifically when we're talking about the Indian Special Forces, I feel like these are the two big changes. Training and actually going through combat.
Special Forces is a state of mind, like I said, right? It's a state of consciousness level. It's a state of being exploratory in nature and willing to put in all that you have.
Special Forces
to be able
mindset.
To see more, to explore more, at even the cost of your own life and your cost of the attachments that you have, right? So in the Special Forces, or I'll speak about myself, I would look for all these probationers who would come, I would look for that spirit. Now, if that guy had that spirit, it's very easy to spot it. You can pick it up.
Major Jacob was a 9-para SF, but was he also an instructor or cadre for the selection and the training? If you know, drop that in the comments.
When you spot it, then it's just a matter of letting it happen. The selection process of Special Forces is so intense that, all your paraphernalia of your ego and your perceptions of yourself and all those things, they dissolve in the amount of energy which is expended or you are exposed to. It just shatters all that is around you, and very quickly you are brought out from there and then looked at.
So you mean like energy?
Basic training will break you down just to build you back up again. When it comes to Special Forces selection, it's kind of like that, but it's like times 100 or even 1,000.
Physical, mental, emotional, all kinds.
Yeah, full spectrum of energy. Your circumstances around you, the world that you're experiencing, be it what your body is experiencing, what your eyes are seeing, basically what your mind is experiencing in those set of circumstances which are created, time-tested set of circumstances which are created to break you, and then see what is there and expose it, bring it out, and have a clear look at it, and straight away make a judgment that do I want to walk with this man in combat or not? If I'm going exploring, would I want this guy by my side or not? Can I trust this man to be able to do what needs to be done?
That's very important, right? Trusting your battle buddy.
The first filtration process starts from the volunteering phase itself. And so it takes a lot to volunteer for the Special Forces, especially when you've been in the academy, you've been in NDA for 3.5 years, whatever, like me, 3.5 years, I got relegated, I had a broken leg, blah, blah, blah. So 3 years in the NDA and then 1 year in the IMA. And then after all of this intense amount of ragda that you get, and you still choose for more.
What is that?
Right? So it takes balls to fill in your volunteer form. So when people volunteer, that's the first level of clearance that they've already crossed. When they volunteer for Special Forces, when they take the decision to put their pen on that paper and sign it.
Okay, I want to go one level higher now.
Yeah, I want to see more.
It takes a lot to actually volunteer for those things, as he's saying. One, if you don't make it, then you'll be disappointing yourself, but you could also be disappointing other people who expected you to pass, such as family or friends or whoever. There can be a lot of judgment. So when you are signing those forms to even volunteer to do this, knowing that there is a 5% success rate, and that says something about you and your character.
So that's the volunteer of this thing. And then you have to be at a certain level, like there are merit lists and all that. A lot of people now apply for the Special Forces and all that. In our time, it wasn't so many, but in my batch, like it was an explosion. Normally, there are 5-6 guys out of a course of 350 who are applying for Special Forces. In my time, there was 33-34 people who applied. So, because our instructors who were there from the Special Forces were so inspiring. So when
Did
you
I miss that?
volunteer, you come into the, if you fit in the bracket of various things that are required, you are picked up and you're allowed to come to a special forces unit. And in that special forces unit, when you come in from the moment you land up at that gate, from there onwards, your life shifts. Everything is stripped off you, right? Right from your ego to your clothes to your whatever it is there. You are brought into the moment, and that moment is crushing in nature, right?
Are you allowed to expand on that? Or
Yeah,
like
can.
what happens?
So you're basically, you volunteer. That's a level of clearance itself. It takes a lot for a person to be able to sign that form, because he knows if he fails, there's so many things to lose. So many people know that you're volunteering for the special forces and all that. You don't make it, there's so much of disappointment within, and then if you have an ego, you'll feel less because other people will judge you and stuff like that. There's a lot to lose if you really think about it. But then people who are able to, and there is never any surety.
Yes, people may judge you. Honestly, if I knew someone who was going out for Special Forces or Ranger or Navy SEAL, and they even attempted it, they would still get respect in my book. And that's how it should be for everyone.
You will make it. There is never any surety. Only those people are sure who don't even think about it. They just land up there, right? The rest of the people who start judging whether I will get selected, not get selected, what will happen, this will happen, that will happen, they go through a lot of
People
inner
who
turmoil.
overthink
and they have to
things.
deal with that besides dealing with what, shit is being thrown at a volunteer. Then when you reach the gate, and then you come into an environment, that environment is built to screw you, is built to teach you, break you, and teach you new things. But the spirit is the same. You're already there. You're just being taught, right? So you go through that process. It's a 3-month process, and I was very
selection is a
fortunate to
3-month
go through 6
process?
months of that process because of various reasons. And then when you go
think
through
that's
that
right.
entire process, you learn a lot, not only about special forces skill sets and things like that, but also you come to realize about yourself
Nice
a lot,
photo.
of what your body is capable of, what your mind is capable of, what your heart is capable of, and what is there beyond when you give up, when you just let it all go, and you're hanging by that thread of choice, because it's a choice you made. So you're hanging by the thread of choice, constantly there. And when that choice is so strong and you remain there, that's what we are looking for. An ability to make a choice for yourself and stick by it. So that's what filters out in combat, that's what we want in combat. So when combat is happening, when bullets are flying, bombs are
Indian
exploding,
medics
people
wear
are
red
freaking
crosses?
dying, killing each other, all that shit is happening.
The U.S.
Intense amount
stopped
of
that
chaos.
during
It's
World War
chaos.
II.
The whole universe
Because
is
red
gone.
crosses make
It's just
big
like
targets.
you're there, right? So it's
Do any nation still
that
have a
time
Red
there is
Cross?
an immense amount of clarity, or
Or-
there will be an immense amount of confusion.
Huh.
So that difference between immense amount of clarity and immense amount of confusion is based on how much of an ability to make a choice you have got. So that we are able to determine during the probation process itself, during the selection process itself, we are able to determine that is this guy going to stick, or is he going to run? We don't judge it. It's okay to run or whatever. It's natural.
You can't do
But
that in combat.
That's not what's going to work in combat, man. If you run, you're weakening the team itself. So the team has to stand, line up, and fucking get into it. So it has to be like that. You have to go in rather than get out. You have to go in, penetrate, reach, tear it open, and open it up, and make it your own.
Yes, sir.
You make that space your own. So there are certain kind of people who are at that
Exactly.
consciousness level where they understand that the choice is theirs. Those are the kind of people we look for.
Yes, sir.
And the entire selection process is to be able to see whether that guy is like that or not. So people are already like that. So we choose from those people. And the circumstances are such that all those people who are not already at that stage of making their own choices and sticking by them, the rest of them just get out from there. They get out very, very quickly. There are some who are more. So we that's why it is a long process. People have different levels of being able to make a choice. We want the guys who can make the ultimate choice, because they made it and they can stick by it. Even if Yamraj comes and stands in front of you, you'll tell her, fucking put a bullet in you, man, get the fuck out of my way. It's like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Could you highlight
like
the
him.
circumstances that actually caused the segregation? Like, what does the training school put you through?
So it's a dual
He'd
process.
kick death's ass.
special forces stand for efficiency. It's the highest form of efficiency that a human being can achieve in this reality. Above this, maybe it is the yogis or whatever, When you come into this environment, you are put into a dual process of being broken down, shattered, torn apart, right? And being trained as well. It has to be efficient because ज़्यादा time नहीं है ना, चल रहा है ऊपर काम. So we need guys, tuck, 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 come like that. Or you fucking get out from here. It's like that, tuck, tuck, right? So you are being trained and you are being broken down as well at the same time. So in this process of being trained and broken down at the same time, you're taught certain skill sets, right? You're taught certain skill sets that you need to be able to execute in combat. For example, there may be explosive training, there will be unarmed combat training, there may be weapon training, there may be endurance training, there may be navigation training, there are a lot of things, emergency medical first response training, survival training, etc., etc., etc. You're being trained and you are being trained while being broken. Your day starts, if you're lucky, your day starts around 4:30. Otherwise, if you're unlucky, your day started yesterday. You have not slept. Wow. And that could be like couple of days in a stretch.
Is a big thing in selection.
So for example, I have a bad memory, Maybe that's why I'm so happy. So I have a bad memory and all that. And I was always like poor in GK, I had no interest, like things like that, in who is president and who is what. It's not my purview of things that are affecting me, right? When I came in, so the whole day till 7:30 in the evening, you are being taught and you're being screwed, right? You are being pretty screwed to the inch of your body choice, right? Constantly. And if it's over, it's over. Like people just get up and sign and get out. It finishes off that quickly. There is no, maybe, one more chance or something like that. So when you are, the whole day going through that whole thing, and 7:30 in the evening, you're broken off. That, okay, go have your dinner or whatever it is, and then people go and prepare and all that. So you're basically doing probation with the soldiers. So officers, soldiers, whatever, everyone is together. You live together, you eat together, you train together. Everything is happening together. So you go through this entire set of experiences till 7:30 in the evening or 8 o'clock or whenever it is on that particular day, and you're generally broken off to go and prepare for the next day, eat your dinner, make your diet, and you're making stuff that can go in and give you energy and recover what you have lost and prepare you for the next day. So 7:30 they would be broken off, and I was the only officer doing probation there, right? So I would have to go to the officers' mess. It's the officers' mess where the real probation would start. So all the bachelors of my particular unit would be there for dinner, and it was compulsory for me to go there and have dinner. And
so we ate with the soldiers and ate at the officers' chow.
I would reach there half an hour early, and I would be told,
Can someone clarify
I had to
this?
learn everything which is there in the mess over decades. There are so many trophies and there are so many, memorabilia and so many things which are there. You have to learn each and every damn thing. Who gave it? When did he give it? Why did he give it? What is the significance of it, etc. Each and every, there are hundreds of pieces lying around there, right? And then there are these people who have died in combat, right? Like Sudhir Walia, Arun Singh Jasrotia,
important to know your history.
Legends of our battalion who died in combat, right? So their stories are there in the officers' mess. You see it sometime, and then you have to learn why, who was he, when did he, get shot up, how did he die, and what was he awarded for, and things like that. So all of that you have to memorize and learn. And then by the time everybody comes for dinner, and then you sit, and then the question answers start. So they'll start asking you, okay, and it can start from anything. It can start from you're like what used to happen to me is like, I would start putting like, you're hungry, the whole day it's been torn out of you, and you need that bloody food going into your body. So then the first spoon is going into your mouth, and somebody will just say, Jacob, what is the moon phase today? And there, sorted. So they'll start asking you questions to check your level of awareness and so many other things, in which I used to fail all the time. I didn't know fucking jack shit. What is the moon phase? Who is the president? Who is nothing? I knew nothing.
What day of the
Right.
week is it?
And
If you answer wrong, what happens?
you're lying. Either you know or you don't know. That's it.
So if you don't know and you say you don't know,
Yeah, so that's what I started doing. I would just keep saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. So they'll ask one question, I'd say, I don't know. Then they'll look here, there in extreme disgust that this guy doesn't even know this. Like that, like that, like that. So they'll keep asking, keep asking.
When U.S. Army soldiers go to the promotion board and they get asked a question that they don't know the answer, the best thing to do is to take your best guess and answer it in the most confident way possible. And that's what they like to see. In this case, though, I don't think this applies.
Keep asking. You know that this is called piling up, right? And then they'll just say, yeah, you need to learn and all. So they'll tell you, okay, do one thing, half an hour guard check, whole night. So every half an hour, you're circling the battalion, the whole battalion. There are a certain number of checkposts, the radar, there's moving patrols and all. There's a very high level of
Roving
security
guard.
going on. So you're circling the whole battalion, the whole night. Every half an hour, you have to take one circle.
Not fun.
And then in the morning at 5 o'clock, there's going to be a PD fall-in. And at 5:30, there's going to be a battle preparatory endurance test go, where you will be competing with all those guys who broke off at 7:30 last night. And they were like cooking, meat and this and that and, eating almonds and whatnot and all of that. And they have slept. And they are going to be running alongside you. And you better be number 1, 2, or 3. Ideally, 1 or 2.
Officers have to lead from the front. Soldiers need to see that you can overcome any kind of obstacles and still lead them. It's the same thing in BUDS training for the Navy SEALs. The officers enlisted train together, but the officers are held to a higher standard.
So if you don't come 1, 2, or 3, you're out, brother. You can't make excuses that, I didn't sleep last night, and everybody knows you have not slept last night, but you will yet perform. Because you have to lead these people in combat. You have to lead the men in combat. In special forces, you don't lead by position of your rank or whatever. There is no authority in combat. When the shit is flying and death is like constantly zipping around you, like that, there is no authority. There is no captain, major, colonel, brigadier. Frickin' no one. There's just you and the people who are there with you. And what are you going to do right now? That is what decides leadership there. That is what either keeps it all together or everything is destroyed. So that's what is checked. So like that you go through a process. And then again the next day, and then again the next day, and then again the next day. Like that, like that, like that.
you get through this process, and from what I hear, it's a lot about breaking the man, breaking through all the layers, getting to the core. And the process of breaking those layers, some people's cores break, and those are the ones that leave. And the ones who are left with that pure core,
They become more powerful.
Stronger.
what do you mean?
You know what you are. You just look back at what you have gone through for this long period of time, and then you realize that nothing is impossible. Nothing. So that's the kind of realization which is the chief weapon of a special forces operator who knows it.
Nothing is impossible.
That all this I have gone through, now you just like whatever, man, whatever. Yeah.
Like they say that while you're training, you should train, for the worst case scenario, so that when you're actually in the practical scenario, it's not the worst case scenario because you've already gone through the grueling time in your training.
Combat is touch and go. Actually, no training can match combat. No training can match combat.
And do you feel that combat also continues your training process?
Of course.
Very true.
It's like a painter who hasn't painted. If a special forces soldier has, you've gone through NDA, you've gone through IMA, you've gone through a lot of shit in life, you volunteered, you got into, reached the battalion, gates of hell, and you reached there and you've gone through a process of 6 months of bloody getting screwed up and this, that and all that. And then you have not seen combat, or you've seen very less of combat, you're not there. So combat, tears you up even further. Combat actually places you at the right mindset. And the more you see combat, the more you see this. What is combat? Combat is life, death, life, death, life, death. Duality at its cutting fucking edge. That's combat, right? So when you're constantly on that cutting edge and choosing to be there, you're evolving.
Yes, sir.
It can just keep getting intense and intense. And what happens after a certain period of time, depending on what your level of consciousness is, where you already were, so you are able to predict, you're able to feel it. Like after a certain point, like I used to tell my guys that aaj kuch hone wala hai, something's going to happen today. I've felt like I've known that something is going to happen. I've told. Yeah.
Intuition.
Yeah. The intuition becomes so powerful that it's there in your head. In thought, it comes from intuition, it turns into thought and turns into action. It's like that. You're there, you can see it.
I don't know about you guys, but when he said that nothing is impossible, it gave me some goosebumps. He strikes me as the type of guy who takes no bullshit or excuses from anyone. What do you guys think?
I just want to highlight one thing for the audiences, that this skill of intuition which you develop through the course of your journey, suppose you end up going away from the army and try doing something after your army tenure, you apply that intuition in your second innings as well. And I've seen this with you, Captain Raghu. Just y'all are taking your experience from the army and applying it in the real world to make the real world a better place. But I'd still just like to highlight combat a little bit again. So do you remember the first time you went into combat? And you don't have to tell us where it was, what happened, but I'd love to know what the man in you was thinking. Was it just excitement? Was it aggression? Was it, again, did efficiency come to the top, and were you very duty based? Were you in a state of flow?
I remember everything I did in the special forces, every damn thing. So when I went into combat the first time, I was taken after my probation, blah, blah, blah.
How
got
long was he in the army
became
for?
Got into the lowest rung of the special forces team that was operating. I was sitting on top of a mountain. We were supposed to go down into a place, into a very deep ravine with a very, very, very jagged terrain. And we had to hold ground on top, and we had to go down and do what we had come there to do. So I was supposed to sit with the radio set and listen. What my team commander told me, my team commander was a very, 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 very experienced and very balanced person in combat. So he told me that, Jacob, you do one thing. You this radio set that you have, you sit right there on top of that mountain. And he was also sitting, some distance away from me on top of that mountain. He was controlling the entire combat operation going on there. He was watching and controlling and getting feed from all the squads which are out there. And I was also sitting, and he was sitting about maybe 20-30 meters in the forest on the other side. And he told me, you listen to the cricket match. You listen and learn. That's what he told me. You keep sitting there. See what happens. So I was sitting and waiting. And then the two squads which are going down for the hit, they were passing by just next to me. Yeah, they were going down. 6 and 6. So they were going down, and I saw I was watching them go down. And I knew, fucking, they're going for combat right now. They're going to experience right now. And the last guy was going, and I just told my buddy, I'm also going, bye-bye. And I went down behind the last guy.
He's a man of action. Not everyone would do that, so good for him.
Down, and reached the point of where the contact was supposed to happen. So I reached there, and I informed my team commander that, sir, I am here now. So he said, okay. Obviously, there is no extracting me back from there now, because the contact is going to happen now, right? So he let it be. It was my choice. So, and then first contact, first hit, that's how I experienced it. I chose it. Yeah.
But when the bullets started flying and the bomb started exploding, what was in your head? Years of training?
No, pure instinct.
And muscle
pure
memory.
Instinct.
Muscle
Your body just
memory.
works by itself.
Yeah. See, what happens is, like I said, they're breaking it down, yet they're training you as well. So, for example, so naturally, I was a good marksman. I was pretty good with a weapon. From childhood, my father's taught me, I've been cleaning various kinds of weapons, opening them up, cleaning them up, using them, etc. from a child. From class 2-3, I've been handling pistols and things like that, filling in ammunition and things like that at home on our dining table and all. So I had a lot of experience with weapons. And if you want to call it DNA or whatever, so my father was like a national shot. He could write his name with a pistol. Yeah. And so that experience was there probably in my DNA or whatever. And then I landed up in 9 Para Special Forces. And then, when I entered that gate, like I said, they straight away took us to the armory where the weapons are kept. And they opened the gates of the armory and said, pick up your weapons. And they were all live weapons, they're not dummy weapons. They're all live weapons. And they told us that these weapons are going to stay with you for as long as you are here in this battalion. And once you clear your selection, then you can, there are other things that you can be exposed to. But this is your baby. This is part of your body. It doesn't go away from you. So then you're handed. That's the first thing that happened to me. They gave me a bloody AK-47.
It is something that you need to take complete accountability for. When you're deployed especially, that weapon becomes a part of you.
Like they opened it up and I chose an AK-47. Now I had certain understanding of weapons, so I chose a particular weapon. That weapon for 6 months was stuck to my body. Whether if I was eating, it was on my lap. If I was rolling, it was between my knees. If I was sleeping, it was tied to me. If I was shitting, I was holding it. And it was constantly 6 months that weapon became a part of my body. It was like with me, stuck with me. Because if it separates from you, the whole, unit is waiting for that weapon to separate from you. They'll break you down so much that you'll get confused and you lose the weapon for a minute, 2 minutes. If it's away from you, they'll take out the moving parts. And you will not even realize that the firing pin is gone. You realize it when you go for firing and you go click and no bullet comes out, you realize the bloody firing pin is gone. And if that goes, you are gone. You're told to leave. You're given some beer, drink beer, happy, no hard feelings, and bye-bye, buddy. So it's like that. So because those 6 months that damn thing was with me, it became so much of a part of my body that wherever I would point my finger, the damn bullet would go there only. So in the first contact, it's a flash. Most contacts are a flash. Right? There is no intense, prolonged battles going on. We don't want to get into prolonged battles and all. Right? We want to just go there and finish it off. Go in, hit, smash, out. When that first contact happened, it was an instinct. Sida, trak. It was like that. There was no, shist milayenge and we
Muscle
will
memory
foresight,
and instinct.
backside and whatnot, and you will take deep breath and this, that, and pull trigger slightly and all that. It's not like that. It's just like that.
Efficiency comes to the forefront.
Yes. This is muscle memory. Confidence coupled with muscle memory. So if you take sports shooters, right? People who are shooting for sport, right? Air pistols, rifles, big bore, etc., whatever it is. Even like your skeet and trap or whatever that you are into. What happens is that you are capable of a human body and the human mind is capable of photocopying each and every action. It's capable of that, right? And these are very controlled environments. The AC is on, there is no sound, nobody is disturbing you, you are at the right temperature, you've eaten the right kind of food, you've slept well, etc., 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 etc.
That's not the case
so
in
that
combat.
when you go into and you're able to repeat
It's exactly
the same
the opposite.
10 like that, right? Combat is not like that. You're in combat, it's all chaos. So in that entire chaos, if you can, in that one flash, you have to hit a bloody 10, man. Because if you don't hit a 10, there is going to 10 bullets going to come towards you. The burst will come. There are no single bullet coming towards you. It'll come like a fucking wave. Boom, like that. It'll come like that. And so you don't want that happening, right? So instinctively, you reach that level of survival and exploration where you go, it's one shot. One shot is a 10.
Are you allowed to speak of the most difficult mission you had to face through your tenure? Just a bit of it, like, or what you found, to be challenging.
Yeah. Only one. And I'll tell you what was challenging about it. I enjoyed my life in the Special Forces. Constantly evolving, no? Constantly at the cutting edge.
And every combat situation is new. And it
Yeah.
teaches you something.
Like for every day, circumstances are different. The people you meet are different. Things that happen to you are different. The different food that you eat, etc., etc. There is variety in life. Similarly, in combat, there is no combat situation is the same. None whatsoever. And in my case, what I got to experience was I've never had the good fortune of sitting and waiting and in a perfect situation where you just go cluck 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 and it's over. It's never happened like that with me. What has happened with me is that I have reached a certain place, reached there, and then things have played. Like all my contacts that I've had are moving contacts, moving. flashes, finish, like that. Prolonged battle as like very few times, where something prolonged into something. And it's like, so the most challenging thing I ever found was when one of my guys got injured. But that was the calmest I've ever been. I was able to extract that man from death. It was, when I say I mean my team. We were a very small team, very few guys, heavily laden with combat gear and all the things that you need in various kinds of situations that may come up during combat. You're not going to get a chance to go home and, oh, I forgot this, I'll get that. Not happening, brother. So what does happen is that years and years of experience. At that point where you've been able to calculate every damn thing and reach that situation as prepared as you can be in equipment, in training, in mindset, in
Can't
experience,
imagine
and etc.
how much
All of
gear
that
those guys
into
carry
that,
around.
4 or 5
Probably
minutes.
good
Or 1-2
50,
minutes
60
or whatever.
pounds worth of gear they're
So
carrying everywhere.
we were in a very difficult place, and guys like blew up, and yeah, it was like I was looking at that guy and I was thinking, no, he's dead. He's going to die right in front of my eyes. We are like brothers, because in combat, like I said, there is no major, captain, colonel, brigadier. All that doesn't exist there. What exists in combat is love.
Is love.
Yes. I love my men. I used to love them. It's love. Only love can penetrate like that. Nothing
Love your
else.
battle buddy.
Only love can be that efficient. So it's that love which forms after trust. Trust comes before love. So then the love comes, and then with that love vibration, you can fucking penetrate anything.
I've seen that love before with soldiers that were saying goodbye to their injured squad leader when I was in Iraq, and this guy got all shot up or something, and his soldiers actually loved him, and it was very emotional. Just even thinking about it right now is really emotional to see just how much love you can have for your battle buddies or your commanders or your squad leader, etc.
Time and I was seeing this guy, and what a guy, man. What a guy. Like his like ankle below was gone. There was space there. And then his 1 foot, which had basically blown up, there was only one bone. There's the bone of the longest toe, there was no flesh on it. There was just a bone, and which had broken in like a hook, and there was nothing else there. And this guy was like, he had his hands behind his back like this. We extracted him in 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I'd formed a protective circle around him. And we were like pumping him with morphine. We were pumping him with IV. We had put in IV. We had put in tetanus. We'd like, bandaged the wound. He was spurting blood like a machine. Every time it would pump.
So this guy had an arterial bleed on a limb. Preventative care on that is a tourniquet, which I'm assuming the Indian Army uses. I'm not sure. Does the Indian Army give tourniquets to all of its soldiers in their first aid kits? If you know, drop that in the comments, please.
It would spray blood like that. Within 5 minutes, we had like sorted him out. We had brought the blood down to a trickle, and we had administered what was needed to be done. There was no doctor there. It was just us.
Did they use
So we are trained to be able to handle something like that. And then it goes into instinct. And only love can actually get something out like that. So that guy had such fucking balls on him. He was like this, and he was just looking at his foot like that. Just looking. He wasn't saying anything. And I was just looking at, if this guy starts screaming right now, because he's staring death in the face. He is so calm. He knows he's going to die now. He knows it.
Sometimes when you have a traumatic injury, you're not going to feel any pain because your body is spewing out adrenaline, and eventually the pain will catch up to you, but initially you're not going to feel much in some cases.
So while we were doing that, I was looking at him, what is he going to do? When is he going to start screaming? He did not scream. So while we were doing it, and then there was a little piece of his heel which was hanging off. So we were trying to put it back on the bone and then trying to, bind it up, because it will be needed later when he it'll become a stump. So the stump can take the prosthetic, right? So we were just putting that heel back so that he has some cushioning and all later on in life. And he was just looking like that, and that's when he opened his mouth and he said that, "Isko kaat ke fek do. Just chop it off and throw it away. Just do it, whatever you're doing." So we told him and just did what we had to do. And at that point of time,
did they do it?
So
Did what he had to do.
at that point, we had it had taken us like 48 hours to reach there down a jagged mountain. We had fixed ropes and whatnot to reach there. But then to fucking pull him out from there, it has taken us 2 nights of climbing down. And this guy is going to die very, very soon. He knows that there is no way humanly possible for him to reach medical attention, the kind of emergency medical attention he requires right now. But we did it, yeah. There's a guy we were like laden with, I was carrying about 30-35 kgs as a team commander.
So
right?
that's what,
So imagine
60,
what all of us were
70
carrying.
pounds?
And when we
That's a
started,
lot.
like, we did not go like this, like that or something. Just straight away, like that, we went like that, like a fucking rocket. Sida just fucking
So he's
picked
a
him
good
up,
storyteller.
surrounded him. There was a guy on my team, a very young guy. And he was like a big man. He was relatively new. And it was his like first combat experience and all. That's what I'm talking about, love. So he just lifted that guy on his back, right? Just lifted that guy on his back and said, "I'll climb." And we needed that. We needed that at that point because of various reasons, blood flow, blah, blah, blah.
And there's probably enemies around.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, there are enemies around and they know what's up. So they're hunting you now. So you have to get out. Not because you're afraid or anything of combat. That's what you've come here for. We're like, bring them on, man. We were fucking like that. Bloody, 6 of us, if we were at that stage, if we got surrounded by whoever, it would take them 1 year to kill us. 1 year.
See, that's the
Unless
definition
they
of confidence
bloody bomb
right
the
there.
area. That level. So when this guy picked him up, this let's call him A. So A picked up the guy who had blown off his leg. This guy started saying, no, put me down, I'll walk and go. That's what he was saying. His leg is gone, like his ankle below gone. And he's saying that, no, you put me down, I'll walk and go. I'll carry my weapon.
That's impressive.
He was carrying his IV bottle in one hand, in which he was getting IV fluid inside his body. And he was carrying his weapon. He was saying, no, I'll walk. So I had to tell him, brother, please climb on his back.
Very impressive.
So he said, okay, let it go. So he climbed on his back and we were going, and there was this huge rock in that nala where this guy put his foot on to climb up, and that huge rock like rolled onto his shin bone. And he just sat down, and the guy who was carrying the other fellow, he just sat down, caught his foot like this, and like about 30-40 seconds he was like this, and then he got up and told him, you climb again. And we started climbing, and we had him extracted by 3:30 a.m. in the morning. I had him on the fucking helipad, man. He was out, and
That's
then
very
whatever.
intense.
So that was pretty intense, yeah. So that particular situation, like it was so much of intense
I wonder how
hard
long it
work
took
and
them
planning
to
and
extract
guts
him
and
to the
balls
helipad.
and
How
fucking
many
whatnot
hours?
had gone into being there at that point of time. It was a long plan. Days and days of stretch there in that position. And on the 5th day in the morning, I started getting a feeling of dread. It's the first time I felt dread in combat. I've never felt dread or fear or anything. Just there's no mind space for all of that. You are in combat and you start feeling fear, you're not going to get out of your life. And it's a natural body instinct, fight or flight. So you're in the fight mode, man. So at that point of time, on that 5th day, and we had a long stretch ahead of us, on that 5th day, in the morning, and I was just thinking, and this dread started building. And by around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, I wanted to get out from there. I wanted to leave that. And I just kept thinking, in 12 years, this is the first time I want to leave combat. I don't want to be here. I want to get out. Why? So I was thinking, trying to use my mind to understand what am I feeling. So it was so fucking intense, right? You
Maybe
can't
it's part of
ignore
the
it.
intuition
Can't
that
suppress
something
it. That
bad was
kind of
going to
dread
happen,
was
maybe.
coming in. So I was thinking, why is this? It had never happened to me before. Before, all the intuitions I had was that like something is going to happen and I've gone in to take it, right? But this was, I wanted to get out. Why? So I was thinking, maybe what do I want to get back to? I want to get back up there where there'll be a warm blanket and there'll be some rum to drink and there'll be some chicken to eat and all of that, because it's starving and all of that, right? So I was thinking maybe I've become lazy. I've become lazy in my head. I've spent so much time in this thing, and now I'm becoming like the other guys who left because they couldn't handle it anymore. So I've become like that. I'm becoming lazy. That's why I want to go. So I told, fucking no way. I'm not going back for that reason. So I stayed put. But the dread kept becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the first time I smoked in combat. I couldn't help it. I just pulled out a fucking cigarette. To suppress that dread, it had reached such a bloody level. You can't tell that to the other guys sitting around you.
Fear is contagious.
You're leading them. So it was just, I was processing inside and thinking. And I think by around 4:30 in the evening, I was like, I had pressed my radio set button and I was going to tell the other guys, we were like 2 squads out, right? I was going to tell the other squad, extract, get out, come to me. And we'll get out from here. I'd pressed the switch and I was going to pass. And I left it. I decided at that point, no, I'll see this through. I'm not going from here because I couldn't understand why I want to get out. So I just crushed that feeling of wanting to get out and I stayed put. And around 20-25 minutes later, boom.
Uh-oh.
And then 5 minutes of radio silence.
Something went down.
So I knew some shit has gone bad. Various permutations, combinations came in my head. There were people, my own squad guys telling me, open the radio, ask them what's up, what's happened. I knew shit has hit the fan. The guy who's leading that squad, right? I was leading 2 squads. So the guy who's leading that squad, that small team. So I was waiting for him. 5 minutes I waited sitting on the radio, waiting for him because I knew he's in chaos right now. He's in fucking chaos right now. And the last thing he fucking needs to hear from me is what the fuck is going on. He'll fucking handle it, yeah. That's what he's been trained for. And at the end of the day, either God is walking with us or not, yeah. We'll find out.
Very true.
Right? What we'll see. So 5 minutes, I just waiting. And he came on the radio and told me, shit has hit the fan, guy's blown his leg. So then you cannot lose another guy because you will not be able to extract. Because then the load will become too heavy. So you cannot have another casualty, trying to extract another casualty. So we did certain things after that, at that point of time. And that was a situation that you're not taught. You see it, experience it. So that heart, that confidence in love and the skill sets and your experiences, all of that crunched together gives you fucking clarity like nobody's business.
You can't train for every possible scenario. This is why it's important for soldiers and especially special forces to be adaptable and to have good problem-solving skills for situations just like that.
To go in and then face what is there. And in that particular case, we were able to successfully extract the guy. Yeah.
Wow. So that was some intense storytelling. So far, I think this is my favorite part. I know nearly everything he's done in the Special Forces is classified, but I'm really liking how he's able to talk about the important and relevant parts of his experiences without giving too much information. He is a great storyteller, and I'm enjoying all of his insight into everything, especially about love existing on the battlefield. That could not be any more true.
Whenever I talk to someone from the army, the 2 things that really stick out for me are leadership and brotherhood. You spoke about a sense of love, and that's what actually triggered this whole situation, even within your mind. So, what have you learned about leadership, sir, through that tenure? And I'd also love to ask you that you said that while there's no hierarchy in combat, I'm sure that through the course of multiple combat situations, some people come out as the leaders. So how are they collectively chosen? Who's chosen as that guy who says that, okay, here's what we'll do? And how do you create that listening ability?
Leadership is about responsibility. It's about the man who can take on that responsibility. It's as simple as that. It starts with that.
If you're a leader, then you're responsible for whatever happens. You can always delegate authority to people, but you can never delegate responsibility. Responsibility is a key thing when it comes to leadership.
There is pre-combat, there is combat. There is no post-combat. Post-combat is only analysis of all the shit that you have done. But
After action
pre-combat
means-
is preparation for combat,
I've done plenty of those.
and then there is combat. Both require extreme amount of leadership skills, because your life. When I say my life, means my team, my life, right? Is dependent on me, and you're wearing some funny ranks and all that, so that is supposed to be placing you in a position of responsibility. But in a way, it is easy to lead a special forces team, because all of them are bad motherfuckers. They're fucking good. So, and they all love, no? That's the only way you can survive.
They're
there.
all badasses.
You love each other
I would
only.
agree.
That's the way. Otherwise, you will fail. And if you fail, you will pay the price in blood. So it's like that. So leadership is a responsibility. It's simple as that. Those people who can take on that kind of responsibility are natural leaders. They are in the vibration of leadership, if you want to call it, right? But you're also constantly following things also at that point of time. But you're calling the shots, right? Ultimately, you are listening, following, thinking, analyzing, all of that freaking going on. And then you're calling the shot that this is what we're going to do, right? So, and you have to trust. So leadership is about responsibility, being able to take on responsibility and being able to fucking trust yourself to take on that responsibility, right? It's not that, you lose some money or, you'll break some friendship or some shit like that. You'll fucking die. If you die, it's all well and good. Your Maya is over. But then the rest of the guys, if somebody else dies, you are going to sit here and watch his children weep and his children go through various things, and, you'll miss him and things like that. And you will judge yourself. Why? So all those things, So during combat is like a purification. It's like titration, Only those who can lead, who have got all it takes to lead at that point of time, when chaos has hit you, smashed you.
What is that
Right?
photo
Smashed
from?
everything that you had
Does
planned,
anyone know?
and just smashes into you. Chaos begins. At that point of time, you have to be bigger than that chaos. And the only thing that is bigger than that fucking chaos is the fucking trust you have in yourself, and all that life has put you through, and then finally being able to throw it all in that moment. Be more chaotic than fucking chaos. That's what's going to get you through. So at that point of time, especially like in combat and all, like we don't wear ranks and all those things. So we don't wear ranks. We don't wear. If you'd seen me in combat, you'd be confused. Who the fuck am I?
United
Right?
States
Like that.
Special Operations do the same thing. They don't really wear ranks.
Give you an example. So when I was very young, when I was very young in combat, at that point of time, we were penetrating into a place heavily infested, and we were penetrating deep inside to hit some particular target. And we were on the side of a mountain, and we were going on the mountain track like that at night. Must have been around 8:30, 9:30 at night. And it was a naked mountain. Basically, there was no undergrowth, no trees, no cover, no rock, nothing. It was just grass like that and like that. And we were going like this. The whole team, in which I was like a new guy. And, special forces guys can be pretty ruthless if you interact with them. They will ridicule you, they will make fun or whatever, it's like that, depending on the kind of personality you're coming across, right? And the soldiers and all, they will not give you your respect because you're just wearing a lieutenant or a captain or whatever it is there. They will give you respect when they respect you. It's like that. When they in their heart feel respect for you, that is when they will respect you. Otherwise, they will not respect you. And in combat, respect is the most important tool to be able to execute that combat situation, that chaotic motherfucking situation, with precise efficiency. Because respect will keep everything together. And love in a slightly higher format. But love takes time, right? So when we were going down up that side of that mountain like that, there was a huge like Nala below us.
Nala.
And then there was the other mountain on
What
the
is
right
Nala?
side. And suddenly a whole like machine gun fire started on us. Accurate machine gun fire. Like you have to like hear it to experience it to understand how chaos comes out of the darkness. Just boom. Accurate fucking buddy, this big motherfucking bullets coming at you, man. Bouncing off all over the motherfucking place at night. So the whole team, I was in the lead group, and whole team went down. Whole team went down into the ground, and there was no space to hide. But we were like, you just find that fucking space, man. Like, the fucking quarter centimeter, you'll get into it, right?
Scary.
And I was just, it had just started, and I was just looking. I was also down. All of us were down. I just looked ahead, and there's 2-3 guys ahead of me, and I looked behind. Whatever, till where I could see. I could see whole column down. And it's just started like 2 seconds into combat, right? 2 seconds into being ambushed. We were ambushed. So 2 seconds into that, and I just thought at that point of time that the man who stands now and returns fire, he's the leader. The man who stands now in that fucking hail of fucking machine gun fire, who stands now and fucking gives it back, because that's the only way you can stop that. Otherwise, they'll keep fucking, they have no endless ammunition. And soon, rocket launchers will come, and soon a lot of other shit is going to follow. Right? So the man who stands now is the fucking leader of this group. So I stood up and I started fucking firing back. And as I was firing back, and I started seeing people started standing and fucking firing back, giving fucking shit back. And that's how we controlled that situation.
I will talk more about this at the end, but this, I think, says it all.
That's leadership.
So you gotta earn the respect.
There's no earning and all, yeah. It is just who you are, yeah. It's simple as that. You don't have to earn respect. You don't have to do anything but be yourself, yeah. That's all. When chaos hits around you, if you can center in, the more chaos, the more centered, the more efficient, the more chances of getting out alive with everyone. All the people you love, you can get all of them out. It's like that.
So you also told me this other really intense thing for me, which is that in all your missions, you've not seen casualties to the extent where, I don't think you've taken a bullet yourself also. You've not had a bullet injury.
Nothing.
Has there been a hand of God over your head? Or is it training? Is it good leadership? Is it being aware?
It's a choice. Ultimately, it's a choice. And it's a choice you make, and the circumstances will be as such. But you will be tested,
Sometimes
brother.
it's luck,
You'll be
though,
tested.
also.
What do you mean, sir?
So like I said, there is no, easy combat situation that I had the good fortune to experience, where I would just be, things would just happen, and I'd just press the fucking trigger and it's all over, and we just collect what we have come to collect and move off. It's never been like that. All chaos has hit. Every fucking time chaos has hit, right? Till the point of penetration, till the point of fucking contact, smooth, hot knife through butter, right? But at that point, explosion, contact, chaos, right? Through that chaos, never lost a guy. Never got hit. No one got hit. Ever. In 9.5 years, right? And the first time, when this situation where this guy blew up his leg, that's the point. It's the only mistake, or you want to call it whatever you want to call it. It's perception, but yeah, that's it. That was it. Never taken a bullet. Had enough of fucking bullets fired at me. I've had fucking weapons shoved in my face. I've been surrounded by enemy. I've opened my hands like this and looked at him in the fucking eye and told him, it's okay, I've killed 4 like you. Okay, kill me, man. Fuck off. Right? And then look beyond what is death to see what is there now. To see it. There is nothing. To see it and experience it. Like my whole life flashed in front of it. 3 times it has happened. The whole life. It's like a photo album, you have in your hand, and you go like that all your life, entire life, in photographs, each photograph having channels of videos. Whole life, flash like that. It's a flash. It's beyond time. There is no time. It doesn't happen in a microsecond or a 1 second or a 10 seconds or whatever. Just happens. Stuck. So yes, there have been lot of out of control chaos which has come like that, come suddenly, come without warning, and got out of it, yeah, and safe. So, except the last one.
There is a part 2 to this conversation. That part 2 of this conversation is going to be about what Major Vivek Jacob is up to at this stage of his life. Some very, very special work that this man and his team are doing in the world.
If there's interest, I will eventually react to that. It seems like it would be a good podcast to actually watch and to listen to. And yes, I thank Major Jacob for his service. He is doing some amazing things, even now that he's out and retired from the Army. The thing about Special Forces operators is that they are quiet professionals. They are humble and they understand that they are part of a team. Did you guys notice how often Major Jacob referred to his team and how important teamwork was? He mentioned it at least a few times. That was a very inspirational and enlightening podcast. He seems like a very humble and down-to-earth man, but the big thing to take away from this is that he is a man of action and he does not take or make up excuses. And yes, he's definitely a badass. I loved what he had to say about leadership. Leadership is taking responsibility, making decisions, and having confidence in your choices. My favorite part of the whole podcast was the story about he and his team being pinned down under enemy fire on the mountain. He realized that a leader would choose to stand up and fire back. So he did. And what happened? The rest of the team stood up and fired back, and they were able to control the chaos. That says it all. He is a born leader. So that is it. Looking back, this was a great podcast to react to, and I think we can all agree that my editing skills have improved a little bit since that video. Thanks for hanging out with me and for watching this video. Until next time, why don't you check out this Beard Biceps podcast?